Have you ever wondered whether those extra chocolate bars or lack of vegetables in your diet really make a difference? Yes, they do. They have a massive impact on your health. Today I'm highlighting the three choices of a healthy lifestyle: exercise, a balanced diet, and reduce stress. Eating a balanced diet, taking regular exercise, and reduce stress can add years to your health and reduce the risk of diseases including heart attack, type 2 diabetes, and cancer, which are accountable for the most common health problems in the U.S. According to statistics from the Centers of Disease and Control and Prevention (CDC), yet many of these diseases are preventable as they're linked to poor diet choices. Yeah. Usually when we think about exercise, we assume that means joining a gym or conducting lengthy workouts, but according to a report by U.S. Center of Disease Control, a moderate or vigorous exercise provide healthy benefits as long as the total duration of activity adds up to 30 minutes in a day. For example, riding a bike down 3 blocks or walking to school can be some ways of getting exercise. By doing this, reducing the risk of heart attack because it's linked to better circulation of the blood flow. Type 2 diabetes is linked to the factor that kidneys absorb too much sugar, which will clog up the kidneys. This is because people are not eating healthy diets to regulate the sugar flow that comes in the body. The Disease Prevention Program, DPP, and a major federally funded study of 3,234 people are at high risk of diabetes, and has shown that people can delay or possibly prevent the disease by eating a balanced plate of the 6 food groups, but with it controlling your sugar levels. Relaxing is a good, Relaxing is a other good life choice. Relaxing is another good life choice. One way of relaxing is sleeping because it can actually prevent cancer. In a study of October 2013 shows that how well you sleep shows how well you sleep may determine how well your body fights cancer. Cancer and may help may help explain how mental well-being plays into cancer recovery and progression. After Alazine studies, Stanford University, David Perez and colleague Stanton says that sleeping problems are alter the balance of at least 2 hormones that influence cancer cells. One is calcium, which helps regulate immune system activity, including the release of certain nature killer cells that help the body battle cancer. Calcium levels typically peak at dawn after hours of sleep and decline throughout the day. And the other hormone affected by sleep is melatonin, produced by the brain during sleep. Melatonin may have properties that help prevent damaged cells that can lead to cancer. In addition, melatonin lowers production from ovaries. Thus, a lack of sleep leads to little melatonin. This series of events may expose women to high levels of breast cancer. In conclusion, choosing these 3 healthy steps can prevent diseases, including heart attack, type 2 diabetes, and cancer. Thank you.
So Andrew, some thoughts?
Alright, so I thought his attention getter wasn't very strong. It didn't really have a pizzazz, I guess. It was just kind of there. But his thesis statement was very good. Very stated. He stated his 3 points. He told us what he was going to talk about. All that. I do think he did fairly well on quoting people and so companies and whatnot. He did pretty well on explaining what certain things were, and I think his visual aids weren't very strong at all. He put up a picture of exercise, and then I guess the other one was cells, and I was kind of confused on what we were looking at for a while. And then he just left it up there. I think he should have turned it off after he was done talking about them. Transitions could have been a little stronger, and sometimes he was choked up on some words, so I think he should have got the words down, like the harder words, just to fully understand what he's talking about. He should have practiced the words. But other than that, I think the speech was fairly well put together. His conclusion was good. It wrapped up everything that he was talking about, and yeah, that's it.
All right, well, I'm going to agree with a lot of the things that you said. I didn't think there was much pizzazz in the introduction. I didn't think there was much pizzazz in most of the speech. It's very dry. It's a lot of reading. There's some information in there, and that was the strong point in the speech, is that there's research in the presentation. So and you do cite the research pretty regularly. So I thought that was the best thing that you had going for the presentation. But I wasn't quite sure where you were headed with it. Andrew said that he heard a preview, and to be honest with you, I was so, I don't want to say distracted, because it wasn't distracted. I was so, I was trying to find something to focus on. I may have missed what you had in the preview. In the body of the speech, I did hear you talk about diabetes. I heard you talk about relaxing. I heard you talking about sleep. So I know you had topics, but I don't know if those were the main topics that you planned on talking about or not. And the whole exercise thing just seemed like it was an overarching thing at first, and then later on it sounds like it's got only a little bit to do with the first section of the speech. So I wasn't clear where it was headed, and I think that is something that you need to work on and make sure that everybody's able to follow your path on that kind of information. I just thought it was problematic. It sounds like it's organized topically, but the signposts between the ideas were not so much abrupt, but they were not very creative, and they're not smooth transitions. It's just that, well, here's a new topic, here's something else to talk about. I think you'll recognize if you watch your speech the problems with the visuals, that basically the only 2 things that I got out of your speech were the word exercise, which is up there in some interesting letters, and then the cellular relationship, which was not very clearly explained at all. I have to agree with Andrew about that one. I don't know why it was up there, what it was explaining, what we were supposed to be seeing, how that was related to sleeping and preventing cancer or any of those kinds of things. It was just there in the background. So we've got some wallpaper that's not doing much to explain anything about the subject. You never sound like you know what you're talking about. You sound like you're reading a lot of material. And some of it is, I think, pronunciation errors. That's part of it. But a lot of it is just you need to practice and go through this and be ready. And this is one of those things that I think I mentioned to you guys about my colleague who makes everybody do the boot camp about the speeches. They have to do it. They stand in a circle and they practice it all day long for 2 hours. Everybody has to go through their speech a dozen times during class and do that, so that when you're done with class that day, you know your topic, you know what you're saying, you've had the notes in your hand, and that's the last time you ever get to use your notes. You don't get to have them anymore. I'm going to have to do this because we're getting way too much reading going on here, way too much. I'm standing in front of you giving the oral report. It sounds it's not just you, Brian. I know you're the victim of this because you're the person that I happen to be talking about right now. But a lot of people are doing this. It sounds like I'm getting the oral report that you did for your class instead of the informative speech that you guys are supposed to be preparing here. And that's not what you want. You need to pick it up a little bit here. You need to put some energy into what you're doing. You need to relate to the audience, even when the audience is, it's not, let's face it, we're a little sanguine here. It's the middle of the day. I think people sometimes they're, dipping because they're, I don't know, their insulin levels are low. They didn't get, they didn't eat soon enough or something like that. And we're just a kind of quiet group sometimes, but the speakers need to try and make the energy, because if you make an effort, sometimes the audience will respond. Not always, but sometimes. If the audience makes an effort, the speaker will respond. And right now, I just get the feeling that nobody is interacting and engaging with each other, and that's a little bit of a problem. And Brian, I think you're endemic of that. You're very indicative of what we're talking about here. You're so trying to get, I got information, I've got it organized, I'm doing what I'm supposed to be doing, but you're forgetting that you're supposed to be giving a speech. And I think that that's the problem that we've got here going on. All right.